And we're live. Hello, and welcome back to Please Don't Live Stream, episode 27. Enough with the remakes already. So yes, we always talk about movie stuff, and this week we're talking about remakes, movie remakes. We're gonna touch briefly upon TV remakes, movies that become TV shows, and just trying to figure out can remakes justify their existence? Is there a reason for there to be remakes, especially of movies that are already like cemented in the popular culture? And with me, oh, that was a very strange intro. With me, we have Christopher, as usual, my trusty cohort.
Hello.
Yes, hello. How are you today?
I'm good. It's stream day.
It's stream day. Yes, very nice, very nice. So yeah, and I've kind of wanted to do this at least for a couple of weeks, but we had a hiatus last week, or well, I streamed solo last week, so I couldn't really do it then. But I've been thinking about remakes for a while, because and wanting to talk to you about it. I'm pretty sure we've talked about it like off air sometimes, probably. I can't really remember though.
Well, we have several times in length.
Oh, okay.
But it was a while ago now.
Yes. Yeah, because just quickly then, it feels like movie remakes or remakes in general, kind of like they kind of died out for a while. There was like a lot of them in the beginning of like the noughts or the like early 2000s. We had like the Hills of Ice and I can't think of any else.
There were also a lot of Japanese remakes.
Like yes, exactly.
Korean, Asian remakes.
Yes, The Ring,
like
The Grudge. Yeah, One Missed Call.
Exactly.
Yes, that's right. And then they started to remake American horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
And back then it was mostly horror movies, and it still feels like it's mostly horror movies. Do you have any theory why exactly they do horror movies? I haven't really thought about that until now.
Well, I haven't either, but I think it's mostly because people don't care that much about the integrity of a horror movie. You can remake a horror movie, nobody will really get angry about it. But if you remake, I don't know, Godfather or whatever, people are going to be really mad about it. So I think you can remake horror movies freely without getting a lot of negative press.
That makes sense.
Also, they are cheap. They're cheap money grabbers most of the times.
Yes, exactly. And now it feels like they've been sort of coming back, but in a different kind of way. Mm-hmm. As in soft reboots and TV shows. But then it's not just horror movies. It's like a sci-fi and I guess fantasy. What would you call Jurassic Park? No, that's a sci-fi movie. Action movies.
Action adventure.
Yeah.
A lot of comedies too.
Oh yeah. Just recently they remade one of my favorite movies, Overboard. The one with.
I saw that. Yeah.
You saw the remake?
No, I saw that it came out.
Oh,
that it
existed. Okay, yeah.
Because I saw the poster or something, and I was like, wait, I know this movie.
Yeah, and that's a weird one because the original was, I mean, yeah, sure, it was successful for what it was, but it hasn't become like a legendary movie or like a comedy classic. It's kind of a forgotten movie.
Yeah.
So that's also like a strange reason. Why would they remake that? It's not a bankable name.
Well, I hope that they have started to take the advice that many have given, that stop remaking the good ones, stop remaking the bad ones or the not well-known ones. Start remaking the movies that have a good concept that maybe wasn't received well or maybe wasn't fully realized in a good way.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's a series, but think of Westworld. It was a good concept, and they thought we can do it better, and it's almost nothing like the actual movie that
No.
came
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
in the 70s or 80s or whatever. So
Yeah.
I think they've started taking that advice, which I think is the only reason to do a remake is if the old one doesn't hold up anymore for whatever reason.
That makes sense. But then you have like especially TV shows like Bates Motel where they remade Psycho.
Yeah.
Like that is idiotic because it's a almost perfect movie.
Mm, yes.
That feels like they're only trying to bank on the name. Same thing with I wouldn't. I'm not sure I could count Hannibal though because it's so different from the movies. It's
Mhm.
sort of like a prequel almost.
But I think Hannibal was the start of the series remake of movies.
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I think
exactly.
that success with Hannibal and people were like, "Oh, we can do that." I mean,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just quickly then, because I watch so little TV. Did you watch any of the Exorcist TV show?
no, I didn't. Wait, do you mean the old ones or the new ones?
They made one like last year or something.
Oh
I
yeah,
think it
the
was
new
two
ones.
two seasons.
Because I think they made one back in the day when Exorcist was big, but
Oh,
nobody actually saw it.
oh, I didn't even know that.
I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think they made one, or well, tried to make one. Maybe just a pilot or something.
Oh, okay.
But no, I didn't see either of them because of the reason I generally won't give it a chance if it's a TV show remake, unless yeah, some exceptions like Hannibal because it was the first time I saw it,
Hmm.
and as I said earlier, unfortunate events because I thought the when I saw the movie it would make a better TV show,
Yeah. Oh well.
so I
Yeah.
saw
You
that one.
you mentioned that off stream
Yeah,
that you watched the Netflix show, A Series
yeah,
of Unfortunate Events. Yeah.
yeah, and I think so. Excluding those special cases where I have a good reason to see it, I try to stay away from those TV shows.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm the same. Well, I'm the same with almost every TV show. So, but like remakes in general, I try to stay away from. I watch
Mhm,
some out of
mhm.
like morbid curiosity, but let me just ask you then, because this is kind of the main thing where we're trying to question why they exist. Have you ever seen? I'm pretty sure you're going to say there's at least one, but have you ever seen a remake that surpasses the original?
Oh yeah, there they are few and far between, but in the whole there are a lot of them.
Okay.
I mean, for example,
Oh wait. Can I guess one?
oh yeah, of course, you're gonna get it,
The Thing.
obviously.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of good remakes of the old 50s movies, like
Sure.
50s, 40s, 50s, 60s movies that they remade early 60s, which fall in the category, yeah, it needed a remake. It was a good concept, but it was fully realized because it was made in a time where we didn't have the effects needed to tell that story. The
Yeah.
Thing is one of those.
Yes, definitely. That is then, and I know that's one example that everyone brings up. Like, well, The Thing is good. Yeah,
Yeah, and also The Fly is another one. That's
yeah. I've
also
actually never.
technically a remake.
Yeah, I well, I, that's an argument as well, though.
Yeah.
I was gonna make about The Thing because technically it's not a remake of the 1950s movie. It's um, it's its own kind of adaptation of the short story.
Yeah,
So you could
and
also argue that.
yeah, true. You can argue that, but you can you can go and check interviews, and you almost all the time there are the director or the writer says they got inspiration from the movie and the earlier novel or book.
Yeah, cool.
So it's the same like with, for example, Dread is a new remake, which is surpasses the original
Oh,
movie.
that's right. Yeah, I've
Uh,
never really seen that as a remake though. I always thought of it, yeah, like a new adaptation of the comic. But
yeah,
yeah, I guess that is a remake.
yeah, and there's also like you can take all remakes of a movie. that has a previous work and say, but is it really a remake? It's splitting
Well,
hairs, I would say, most of the
I
times.
would say that depends. If the first movie is based on a book or a short story or something, you could argue that the remake is a new adaptation of the source material. But like Gus Van Sant's remake of Psycho,
Hmm.
that is a straight up remake of the movie, like
Oh yeah,
shot for shot almost.
and that's one of the worst remakes, I would say.
Yeah, I have to admit though that I've only watched Psycho the original once,
Hmm.
and I kind of fell asleep because I thought it was so boring. I was
Uh,
young,
yeah.
but I have actually watched the entire remake, and I kind of liked it
Well,
because I hadn't seen the original.
I saw the original kind of late,
Okay, I was pretty young when I
and
saw it.
yeah, I saw like I don't know, maybe in my teens somewhere,
Okay.
late teens. I saw it for the first time, and I loved it. And then maybe a few years later, I saw the remake, and I fell asleep in the remake instead.
Okay.
It's such an interesting thing, just that specific case where it is shot for shot, and nothing
Yeah.
is really you can't point at anything like this is bad or like this acting is bad or this writing is bad because it's the same writing. This camera work is bad because it's the same camera work. It just doesn't work for no real reason. That's why
Yeah.
I hate it so much because I can't put my finger on why it's bad. It just is.
Yeah, but I think that is a textbook example of it doesn't need to exist. Why
Yeah,
does it exist?
yeah,
It's
totally.
pointless.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. I couldn't say it's a bad movie other than it's just a straight up like carbon copy of the original.
Yeah, and that was the point, I think.
Yeah, because it is. Yeah, it is basically. I'm pretty sure Gus Van Sant has said that it was an experiment where he would
Mm,
take like studio money and just remake a classic horror movie and see if he
mm,
could get away with it.
yeah,
So that's interesting, but yeah, it's a pointless movie to
yeah,
make. Other than that, for that reason.
yeah.
Um, we actually have some comments here in the chat. Um, and there was about why they remake horror movies.
Hmm.
And it's saying, I think remakes of horror movies make sense and you go in to get scared rather than watch for the plot. Well, sometimes. Rewatching horror movie isn't that scary. Sure.
Yeah.
So a remake can still be scary. Yeah, they can move jump scares around or shift around elements to still surprise the viewer. Also, I feel that teenagers love horror movies and they don't want to watch old movies. That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
Like that's also a conversation I've heard many times that like teenagers now would like hate the Blair Witch Project, for example, and that's kind of why they made the sequel Blair Witch, which is basically a remake.
No, 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 it's not.
Oh, it's more or less. It's just that they add more crazy scares
I
because
mean,
it's people walking around in the woods. They run into some weird stuff. They see strange twig things, twig figures hanging
yeah.
in the trees, and then they come to a creepy house where something attacks them. They've
Well,
just added a bunch of stuff on top of that.
I mean, if you boil it down to that, you can like say like 50 different horror movies are remakes of each other. If you do it like that, but that's the definition of a no. That's not even a reboot. That is a sequel, 100% sequel. I mean,
I would call
yeah,
it I would call it a soft reboot
what?
because it
Blair
doesn't
Witch? Are we talking about the same Blair Witch that came out?
2016, yeah,
Yeah, that's
because
no. They
well it's
spent like the whole plot is revolving around the first movie actually happened, and the characters are related to the people in the first movie, and they're going out there to find the people from the first movie. That's like it's the plot is that it's a sequel. I mean, it's a bad sequel, and I hate it, and it's offensive, and it shouldn't be made, but it's a sequel. I don't know what a sequel is in your world if that's not a sequel.
well then I would argue that you could call it a soft reboot because yeah, the first one happened, but we're just taking the concept and doing it again, and we I say we they ignore the actual sequel, what's called Book of Shadows, which I understand because it's a weird movie, but
Yeah.
they basically want to bank on the name the Blair Witch, or they just call it Blair Witch, and they yeah, I know you could boil it down, but like there are like specific things that are um copied over from the original to the new one. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's a straight up remake, but I would argue that it's a soft reboot, which in some cases are sort of remakes.
I mean, a soft reboot for me, maybe I've misjudged the term.
Okay.
For a soft reboot, for me, the perfect example of a soft reboot is Mad Max Fury Road. Because in that movie, they never really acknowledge any of the previous movie. You can, if you want, say, yeah, it happened between these two movies, but they never acknowledge it in any way. And it's different characters with the same name barely, and that's a soft reboot. Like if you squint, they're related. That's a soft reboot. A hard reboot or an actual reboot is when they don't acknowledge that the earlier happened, and a sequel is when plot points are the earlier movies.
Sure. Yeah.
That's how I define the like reboot, soft reboot, and a sequel.
Yeah.
And that's why I say Blair Witch, the new one, is not a soft reboot in any way, because almost all plot points in that movie is referencing the first movie.
Well, yeah. That's what makes it a soft reboot.
No, so that's make it a sequel.
But it's referencing. Okay. Okay. I thought you meant that it has remade certain plot points from the first movie, but in its own kind of way.
No. You can point any plot point in the Blair Witch Project.
The new one. And say this happened before.
No, this happened because of.
Oh, okay.
And point at the first movie.
Okay.
In Mad Max, you can never point at any plot hole and say this happened because of any previous movie.
Sure, but I just have to defend Mad Max for a little second here.
No, Mad Max is awesome. I love Mad Max.
No,
I'm not saying it's bad.
No, it's not bad. I just because none of those movies are really like straight up sequels. I mean, it's not even called. Well, yeah, the second one was called Mad Max. No, it was just called. It was called Mad Max: The Road Warrior. Yeah. So all of those are like, their own kind of stories, and they don't really reference each other's like any of them. But I see what you mean. Yeah, you could definitely watch the fourth one, and skip over the first three ones.
Yeah, and where I would say the reason, yeah, you're right in Mad Max, they never really reference any of the previous movie, but in the old Mad Max, there was the same actor.
Yes.
So that made that connection, so they didn't have to tell it. In the new one, they changed the actor and never reference it. If they in Mad Max had put in some kind of plot point that he had plastic surgery and that's why he looked different, then it would be a sequel. But they never reference, they never talk about it. It's a soft reboot.
Well, they do reference Beyond Thunderdome, and they changed the actor out of necessity because Mel Gibson he went actually.
Oh yeah, obviously.
So
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying. So.
But then I gotta ask, I guess it's not official, but would you consider The Force Awakens a soft reboot of the Star Wars universe?
That's a hard question. I would say yes, if not the sequel, Last Jedi, existed, and the studio had not explicitly told us that this was a sequel. If the studio had not told anything about that, I would consider it a soft reboot, I would say.
Yeah. Well, that's also a thing. With soft reboots, they never really say that, like, oh, they either say we're doing a sequel or we're doing a straight up reboot of the series. They never say we're doing a soft reboot because I don't know, that's kind of the worst kind of way to do a movie. Like, oh, we just want to remake this movie that everyone loves, but we don't want to say it's a remake. It's a soft reboot. Because that one has like a lot of like, there you have a lot of like scenes like just copied from episode 4 into the Force Awakens, like the trench run and with the Death Star, but now it's called the Star Killer. And
what would you say? What's your definition of the three? Reboot, soft reboot, and sequel. No,
remake.
Sequel, soft reboot, and remake. Yeah,
yes.
Those third.
Well,
what's your definition of that?
A sequel is a continuation of an earlier movie. It could be very loosely like Lethal Weapon 2. There's not really much that ties them together other than the characters. But the last one still happened. They reference it in some way. And they do the same in Lethal Weapon 3 and 4 as well.
Yeah.
We all know that all those movies happened in like the same timeline. A remake is, well, yeah, The Thing is a great example of a remake. They remade the Thing from Another World, the 1950s movie. Not straight up, but it is a remake of that movie.
Yeah, but the first movie did not happen, or the original did not happen in this
exactly.
movie.
No, exactly. Yeah. This is a new movie in a new universe, or not universe, but and then the old one didn't happen. A soft reboot is where they that is Jurassic World, and for me, The Force Awakens is a good example because like the old ones happened, like you remember Luke Skywalker. But they do vague references to the older movies. The Force, the Darth Vader, the Empire. All the things are mentioned, but like specific plot points aren't mentioned. And they sort of copy the story from the original. In this case, from A New Hope.
Yeah.
But try to make it their own so it doesn't just look like a straight up remake.
Yeah.
They try to mask it. They're lazy basically and don't want to admit it. That's a soft remake.
Yeah, and I agree with that, but because of that, I can't still say that even by your definition that Blair Witch Project, the new one, is a soft reboot.
Okay.
Even by your definition, because there are so many plot points that the movie couldn't have happened if the first did. Force Awakens could have happened even if the original trilogy didn't happen. But in Blair Witch, you couldn't have the movie as it is without strong, big rewrites if the first movie didn't happen in that universe.
Well, you could just let's say that I don't know, maybe this doesn't work. I just want to try it. Let's say that the Blair Witch Project didn't exist. And the movie starts with this new kid saying that, with some minor rewrites, like him telling you, my sister disappeared. It was this long ago. It happened in this forest, and now I found video evidence that she might live. Do you think that couldn't have worked as its own movie?
Oh yeah, it could have worked, but it's still in that universe for him when he's no, the sun came up, so I'm just white now.
Yes.
But still, when he says that, the things in the first movie did happen. We just didn't see it, but the things still happen. So that's what I mean. It still happened. The events what happened in Force Awakens. The events actually didn't need to happen.
Yeah, it was just these legends of old.
Yeah, and we could have changed those legends to anything.
Okay, fair enough. However, then, do you think that the new Blair Witch? No, you don't. You already told me that it justifies its existence as a remake or sequel or whatever you want to call it.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. Okay.
I mean, Blair Witch. The thing with Blair Witch that made it so made it work and so effectful. Can you say that? Effectively.
Yeah.
It's because it was a contained movie in this it happened. It found footage. It was it was an unknowable,
Yeah,
and it was closed off. That we only had these videotapes, and that's all we have. We don't know anything more.
yeah.
When you start a sequel, even with the second one, Book of Shadows, that's when it starts unraveling the interesting thing about it, because it's
Mm,
not contained anymore. It's more than just these videotapes.
exactly.
So no Blair Witch Project. I think I will say that no Blair Witch Project except the first one would ever justify its existence.
No, I
They
agree.
can't. They can't. They can't even do a hard remake of that movie. It won't work.
No,
Uh,
no, especially not today. Like Tattle said in the chat, teenagers love horror movies and they don't want to watch old movies because if you just made a remake of Blair Witch, people will be bored and fall asleep.
yeah,
It was a
and
different time back
exactly. And it was this time on the cusp of internet where
then. Yeah,
we
and
didn't
they,
have this information society that we have now, where everything is
yeah, and
very open and free and everyone can take part of it. It was very close then.
yes, and they used that to their advantage
Oh
in
yeah.
the PR material. Like they created like documentaries and websites and stuff. Yeah, Blair Witch is a great movie.
Oh
Just
yeah.
just just phenomenal movie.
It's a
Anyway,
it's a great movie, and it came with and I think it's a big reason why it's a great is because it came in a perfect time. It
yes,
couldn't have
exactly.
come earlier or later. It was
No,
perfect.
yes, I
So
agree.
back to actually talking about
Yeah.
project.
Yes, yes. Well, um, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, you never really touched on the remakes you liked, except for The Thing.
Oh,
Other
well,
examples?
Dread,
We,
Dread. I said
oh yeah, you mentioned yeah,
and The Fly is also a great remake.
yeah,
Um, I mean, there are more, but those are the ones that sticks out. It's it's hard to say because there are so many.
yeah,
But I mean, Dracula. There are a lot
yeah,
of good Dracula remakes, and there's like 10 of them.
yeah. But there, I think you could definitely argue that that's a new adaptation of the book each
Yeah,
time.
yeah, I guess.
No one's ever really remade uh, uh, uh what's it called? Francis Ford Coppola's version of Dracula. They've always made their
No.
own version of Dracula. Werner Herzog did a remake of Nosferatu. You could argue that is a
Oh,
remake of Nosferatu.
yeah. And I mean, where should we put? Because it's also this weird thing where it's like Dracula has been like it's a mythos by now. It's
Yeah,
not a book anymore. It's not a movie anymore. It's not a series of movies anymore. It's a cultural thing. So anytime Dracula movie comes out, it's not actually based on any tangible thing. It's just the culture of it. If you
yeah,
look at, for example, Dracula 2001, Dracula 2000. I mean that
yeah.
doesn't have like anything to do with anything
Well, isn't it
really.
technically? No, it's not really. I was gonna say it's a modern retelling of the Dracula story, but it isn't really either.
No, it's
No.
weird.
Yeah, that is weird. I do like it though. That's
I like.
it's one of
Oh,
those movies I watched when I was a kid.
other remakes that I like. There are a few, except for The Ring. I prefer the Ring remake than the original, actually.
Hmm. I don't know.
They're both good, but I prefer the remake because the remake is a little slower, a little more creepy, a little more investigation,
Mm.
less horror movie, and more of a suspense thriller kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I haven't watched the original in yeah, probably a decade, but I did rewatch the remake like a year or two ago.
Mhm.
It almost like feels like a detective movie at times.
Mhm.
Like they're trying to unravel a mystery, especially after like the first couple of people die.
Mhm.
It almost becomes like it becomes like a sleuthing story where they're trying to figure out the mystery of this videotape
Yeah.
more than an actual horror movie. And I'm not sure. Yeah, because like I said, I haven't seen the original in such a long time. But I
Mm.
think I prefer the original. I'm not sure.
Do you have
I,
any that I haven't mentioned?
remakes. Not really. It's the thing. Um, I guess I wouldn't say that the Dawn of the Dead remake is better than the original, but I like the remake. It's
Yeah.
definitely not better though. Because that's almost like its own thing.
Yeah.
It basically it's only that's what like you said that it's so far removed from the original that the only thing they have in common is it takes place in a mall and there are
Yeah.
zombies.
Yeah.
But it is technically a remake.
Mm.
So I don't know. I appreciate it, but it's not better. Same thing with the Hills of Ice, like I said before.
Mm.
That one I really like the original. Well, I like the original also, but I really like the remake. But I wouldn't say that it's better.
I would wholeheartedly say that Hills of Ice remake is better than the original.
Hmm.
I think the original is
It hasn't aged well.
no, it hasn't aged well, and I mean it hadn't aged well when even when I was born.
No, 'cause
uh,
it was like 15 years old at that time. Still,
yeah, and it even by then it looked old. I can
yeah,
imagine.
yeah.
It has a lot of pacing problems, and it's
Some
kind
bad
of slow and
actors.
yeah, bad actors. It's but it's a that's a perfect remake in my eyes. They saw a good concept and said we can do it better, and they did.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah. I
it
guess
is a good
I could agree
concept.
with that. Oh yeah,
It is a good concept that wasn't fully realized.
sure, sure. Yeah, but other than that, um, I guess you could call The Departed is technically a remake of Infernal Affairs.
Well, what do you mean? Technically, it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, it isn't. It's not a straight up remake. It takes place in Boston instead of
Yeah, but they mostly only
Salem.
changed names.
Yes, yeah. That's what I mean. So
It's the
it's not
story
a
is the
straight
same.
up remake. It's a
I actually never saw Departed.
You
Uh,
didn't? It's a great
because I
movie.
because I saw Infernal Affairs and I said I don't need another one of this. It was
No, okay.
great. I don't need more.
Sure, sure. But I think I guess I could argue that that's because I saw The Departed first. I didn't know it
Mm.
was a remake, and then I saw Infernal Affairs. I think I
Um,
prefer The Departed because of that.
yeah.
Um, oh, I haven't seen the original, so I probably shouldn't say anything.
Mhm.
But another what's his name? Another Martin Scorsese movie, Cape Fear. That's a remake, actually.
Is it? I didn't know that.
Well, okay. Uh, Once again, it's based on a previously written material.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it's a straight up remake,
Mhm.
but it is based on an earlier screenplay.
Mhm.
Well, no, wait. I'm sorry. Yes, it was a movie. This is yeah,
Mhm.
it was a movie. It was made in 1962. That's why I haven't seen it.
Mm.
So I can't argue that that's better. But I really like Cape Fear, so I just wanted to mention it. That's a really good remake, though. You could argue that's a good remake,
Alright.
but
And then there are
yeah,
like a lot of more horror movies that you can mention, and that's like splitting hairs. If there's again back to the 50s movies, like there are a lot of them that you don't even realize there are an old 50s movie that nobody actually saw, like
yeah, sure,
House on Haunted Hill or The Haunting. Both of those are 50s movies,
yeah,
and I remakes are better because the 50s movies are not often good because it like that was 50s horror
was
is
um,
our superhero movies.
yeah, yeah,
Like the studio just pumped them out. Like you have an idea for a monster, let's put it out. Like I mean,
that's true.
so
That's
so
true.
there wasn't a lot of thought behind them, and not much artistic merit to it. And
No, that
those remakes often have because it's usually writers and or directors that actually like that kind like those movies and had a passion for it.
yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah, that's true. Like when you think of bad remakes, you often think about the modern remakes, the
Hmm.
Last House on the Left and I Spit on Your Grave,
Mm.
those kinds of movies where the originals might not have been like super good, but the remakes aren't like they're not better. They're basically
No.
just the same like level of trash. And that's why it feels like why even make it then? Then it's just to update it so that the kids will go see it and we can make some money. And it's like that's the wrong reason to make a movie.
I think the worst, the absolute worst of those, like the remakes of the 80s movies, the 80s
Uh,
horror movies, the absolute worst, that is My Bloody Valentine.
oh
3D.
yeah,
God, I hate that movie with a vengeance because I love the original.
yeah. The new one is it's more like a it feels like a scary episode of Dawson's Creek. It's more
Oh,
teenage love drama than
yeah,
it's a horror movie.
and it's the worst. Do you even remember those when 3D was a big thing? Like a few years after Avatar,
Mm.
and all the movies should have 3D, and they like always push things towards the screen, like
Yeah,
super obvious.
that's the kind of 3D I like though.
Oh my god! I mean,
Like the yo-yos and like
I mean,
branches in your
I,
face.
I think I need to. I don't want to rewatch it, but I think that all murders in My Bloody Valentine 3D has the murder weapon through the screen. I
Yeah.
think every murder in the whole movie. God, it's so worthless. Especially
Well,
since I saw it not in 3D.
oh yeah, and then it's all flat and boring. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so stupid.
But yeah. But in my opinion, 3D is so cheesy. It's just a dumb gimmick.
Yeah.
So I just hate when movies don't utilize the 3D. If you're gonna do 3D, do it properly. Like throw things at the screen, like tentacles or pickaxes, anything. Don't just like, oh yeah, we're creating depth in the background. No, you do that with clever filmmaking. You don't need 3D for that. Come on, give me something. Be cheesy
Uh,
if you're gonna do 3D movies. But anyway.
Another remakes that started popping up recently, the Disney remakes.
Yeah.
What do you think about those?
I've only watched one of them. I watched Beauty and the Beast last year.
It's the only one I saw too, and
Yeah,
I only saw half of it.
yeah. That was. I remember. I reviewed that.
Hmm.
It was early in my career.
Hmm.
And that was also like one of those. Why did they make it? Because that's also like almost not completely, but almost a straight up
Yeah.
remake, but with live action
And the
characters.
weird thing with those movies is that like a lot of those things don't work in live action. I mean, for example, in Beauty and the Beast, the village, it
Mm,
looks so fake. It looks so
yeah, it looks pretty
so.
fake. Yeah.
I mean, and it looks almost as the animated one, but in the animated world, you can make it more,
Animated.
yeah, animated, more interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you in real action, live action, it's just flat and boring, and you see that it's on a soundstage.
Well, did you watch it in 2D?
Yes.
Yes, I watched it in 3D. I think that's the point of that, though.
Uh,
They made the whole thing. They made the depth thing work in 3D, so it's all flat
uh,
in 2D. But I see what you mean though, because they're just trying to recreate the village from the animated one. They're not trying to make their own thing. They're not trying to make it better. They're just doing it the same way. And
uh,
then and it's like, why should I watch this? I could just watch the original. There's
yeah.
no reason for it to exist other than, oh, we made $1 billion, which they made, which is nuts.
Especially since animated movies barely age.
Yeah, yes, and especially that one. That one, I watched that after I'd seen the real action, live action. I hadn't seen that since I was a kid, and it's a great movie.
Yeah.
It still is. It still looks great. So why remake it? Just to make money. That's why.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen the other ones because I don't have the same relationship with like Cinderella. I never watched that when I was a kid. I saw Beauty and the Beast when I was a kid. That's why I wanted to see the. That's why I felt nostalgic about that one.
I did see Maleficent.
I did see that. Yeah.
But that's barely a remake. That's a retelling.
Yeah, and they did the flip the script thing where
Yeah,
they told the story from a different perspective. So that's
and I think I would say I will always encourage that. Flip the script of an
sure.
old story.
Yeah, and that's a good way to like
Yeah.
make a remake if you want to call it that, because
Mhm.
then you're at least doing something interesting with it. And yeah, that movie wasn't like great, but yeah, at least it did something different with it.
At least they tried.
Yes, and it looks great, just isn't a
Yeah.
great movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and well, then quickly, then if we're gonna talk about remakes, have you seen the Dumbo trailer?
Uh, yeah, I saw that. I don't have any feelings towards the old
No.
animated one. I don't have a
Okay.
nostalgia to it, so I don't really care.
No.
And the new movie, it looks good, but I mean,
Yeah. Well, you know what? It looks exactly like the old one.
oh, of course.
Yeah. So I don't know. The Disney remakes, that it just feels like they wanna you know make some money on old ideas. That's
Yeah.
basically it. Because they're doing a Lion King as well. They already did the Jungle Book, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you see that one?
No.
It was so boring. It was
Yeah.
like they took out all of the fun out of the original and just said that this is the cool retelling of the stories.
Well,
But no,
I
it's
felt
boring.
that would also have the same problem that I thought Beauty and the Beast had. Like, it won't work in live action. It
No.
only works in an in animated world.
Yes,
To
definitely.
town.
Yeah, yeah. That one did not work. At
Mm,
least not for me. I thought it was so boring
mm,
because it was like, yeah, I've already seen this, and the last time I saw it, it was a great like cartoon animated fun movie. Now it's
no.
a terrible boring movie. The kid who played Mowgli was good though, but that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It's good production. It's There's nothing
Sure.
technically wrong with it.
No, it
It's
looks
just,
great.
I mean, they all look great, and it's good acting in all of them. There's nothing problem with that. It's just we don't need it. It's
No.
excessive.
Yeah. It's just a cash grab.
No.
Ah, um, but to go back then to the movie that kind of sparked this conversation. I know you haven't seen Suspiria in many years, but
Hmm.
what is your opinion on the old one? And now I know you've seen the trailer now recently.
Yeah.
What are
Um,
your general feelings around
the
that one?
original, I didn't like the original when I saw it. I was very young, but I
Yeah.
thought it was mostly just pretentious nonsense. Like, look at the cool pictures and look how cool I am at filming things. Oh, yeah, but is there a story? No. Someone died, I guess. And I didn't like it. I thought it didn't have anything to say, really. So I don't care for the remake, either way, even good or bad, really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I haven't seen that one in a very long time, but I remember I really liked it, and I have vivid memories of certain scenes of that movie. But yeah, the story is so loose, so you can't. I don't really remember the story. I just remember that it looks great, and
Mm,
it was creepy, and I like the music.
yeah.
But that is also then an interesting conversation to have, and I know we touched a little bit on that before we went live. Yeah, remaking, let's say the Jungle Book, that makes sense because it's a classic movie that a lot of people will go watch this new version of, and
Mm,
that's why that movie made was like $600 million. That makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Financially, it makes sense.
Yes, yeah, exactly. um Remaking Suspiria, which is like a niche cult classic, you're not gonna make they're not gonna make any money on that movie.
But don't you think have you read anything about the director or the writer or the people involved in it?
A little bit. I've read briefly upon it.
Because I mean,
um
it could be a passion project from someone,
it could
like
be, sure.
someone in that niche crowd that really liked the original and thought all his life, like, when I become a big director, I can make this better. I can remake this. This is my dream, and he finally gets the chance. I mean, it could be.
It could be, but it's also one of those movies that amongst those who like it, that's it's like a love or hate thing. Like if say the director really loves Suspiria, it would like be sacrilegious for him. I mean, I would hope he feels it's sacrilegious to remake a perfect movie.
Well,
So
maybe,
I don't know.
but maybe he. I mean, I'm just speculating. I have
Oh
no idea.
yeah, me too. I have
But I mean,
no idea.
maybe he loved the movie, but he didn't think it was perfect. Like I love this movie. I love the concept of it, but I don't think this movie comes up to its true potential. The story doesn't. Story don't feel its potential. Maybe I don't know, because I don't think it's a cash grab. I don't think it can't be a cash grab.
No,
As you
no,
said, it
exactly. It
can't
can't
be.
be. No, it can't be.
So it
And
must be someone involved,
that
like
believes in
wants it
it.
to be made. Yeah, that
Yeah.
believes in it, and still, it can just be like a studio director who loves the movie and say, I want my name on it. That's also possible.
Yeah. And it sort of makes sense. The director is Luca Guadagnino. I can't pronounce his last name. It's Guadagnino.
Okay.
It's the guy that made Call Me by Your Name. I don't know. Did you watch that last year?
No,
The
I don't think I even heard about it.
that it like it's a love story. It takes place in 1980s in Italy with Army Hammer and that kid that everyone likes now. I don't remember his name. Uh, whatever. Anyway,
Yeah.
so and he I would say I've only watched that movie of his. I haven't seen any others, but he seems like a very passionate director. So
Mm.
it's like that makes sense. Maybe he really likes that movie and he wants to like make his own interpretation.
Mm.
But looking up, just quickly looking at some of the trivia here, if you look it up, um, it was actually a project like way back like in 2008 they were talking about making it. The studio, I don't know what studio, but the studio wanted to remake it, and then David Gordon Green was gonna direct it. And he's mostly made TV movies. He made Pineapple Express.
Oh, okay. That guy.
Yeah, well, he's making the new Halloween movie. He likes horror movies.
All right. I haven't seen the trailer for the new one.
Oh, it looks fucking terrible. I'm just
Well,
in my opinion.
I did see both the first.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
The
there
Rob
we have
Zombie ones.
remakes. There we have
Yeah.
remakes.
Those are
The Rob Zombie
remakes.
ones.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
The first one is a remake. The second one is a sequel to the remake, I would say.
yeah. And Jesus, that was
God, yes.
stupid.
I like the first half of the first one because that's sort of like its own movie.
Yeah, with the when he's in the hospital. Yeah, I like that too. But it kind of like it ruined everything. It ruined the second half of the movie.
Yeah, well, that's the classic one that I always bring up when I do horror movie remakes. Like when you explain too much, when you say too much about the monster, it's not scary anymore.
Yeah.
Alien Covenant sucks because they explain what the alien is. Same thing with Halloween.
I mean, I appreciate explaining the monster if they do it over several movies in a franchise.
Oh yeah, sure. But when you like go back and do it in a prequel.
No, I appreciate that too. I don't appreciate when you do a remake and explain everything, like or a movie where they explain everything like right at the start. That I don't like that. But I mean, if we take like Nightmare on Elm Street, for example, there we have like a really basic, nondescript like origin story in the first one where, well, he was burned and now he's back.
Yeah.
And he is magic. I mean, that's the premise.
Yeah.
And then the further it goes, they start explaining and elaborating and going into the details. What's his limitations? What is not, and etc. I like that when they build up the mystery and then they explain it. I like that payoff. And I haven't seen Alien Covenant, but for me, everything you say, oh, I hate it because they explain everything. I was like, yes, finally. They
no!
I've been waiting all my life for this.
No.
Not exaggerating.
Okay. Well, you should watch it then because they tell
Yeah.
you everything basically.
Yeah, I should, because I was really stoked for Prometheus because they were like, we're gonna explain the origin, and I was like, oh great, finally, and then they didn't do it, and I was disappointed.
No.
And
Yeah.
also it was a stupid movie generally.
Yeah. Yeah. It
But
was. It was an ambitious failure. I've come to
yeah,
terms with that at least because it's a very ambitious movie. I just
yeah,
hate it.
and that's the problem with Halloween for me is that they start the movie of they remake the movie, so the earlier haven't happened, and they
Yeah.
spend like half an hour maybe. I don't know how long.
It's like 40, 45 minutes with him as a
Yeah,
kid and a teenager.
yeah, yeah. Like 45 minutes of explaining the movie, and then the movie starts. That's like,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it would have worked if the start of the first one was the start of the second one of Rob Zombie's movies.
Oh, okay. So you mean the first movie is just a remake of the original, and
Yeah,
the sequel is the story of how he became
yeah,
the shape or whatever they want to call him.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I think that could have worked if they if you took those two movies and re-edit them together to two different movies. Maybe it could have worked because the second movie was just killing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't even watch that one. I just heard you told me about it, and it was sound like the dumbest movie ever.
Oh yeah, I saw it on the
Film festival.
film festival, and I fell asleep mid through. And like I fell because they were in a house and she was running around in the house. I fell asleep and I woke up and it's been like 20 minutes and they were still running around in the same house. And I was like, "Come on, really? What is this?"
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it was horrible.
Well, yeah. Yeah. So I'm never gonna watch that one. Maybe I will sometime. But
Maybe I'll watch it, but I don't think I'll watch. I haven't even bothered looking up the trailer because I'm so uninterested.
oh yeah, the new one. Oh no,
Yeah.
definitely not.
Oh yeah, the new one. Because I mean, also Mike Myers is like the worst guy to make a new franchise about.
Yeah, because he has become the most boring of the killers. Those
I mean,
like the
no, I mean,
original slashers.
he was always the most boring of the killers,
Mm,
but he was the
well,
first.
yeah,
That's why he was interesting. He was the first, and we didn't really know what this was yet, and that's what made it interesting. But after like Freddy and Jason, it was like, yeah, that Mike Myers dude. Yeah, he's just a guy who's crazy. These
I've
guys
always
have superpowers.
yeah, I've always been
And
partial to Michael Myers as the killer in the movies. I don't like the Halloween movies. They're after the I like the first one. I really like the first one. I sort of like the second one, and I like the third one. But after that, they're just trash.
what, you don't
Complete
like the
trash.
one with Exhibit?
No, no, oh, no.
No,
Get your hip hoppers straight. It's
Buster
Buster
Rhymes.
Rhymes.
Buster Rhymes, it is. You're right.
Happy Halloween, motherfucker.
Motherfucker.
It's so bad.
And the best is that stutter you did is
That's in
like,
the movie.
yeah, it's that. Oh,
He like tries to be hard, but he's a motherfucker. Oh no, Buster Rhymes.
oh
You're
no.
supposed to be cool.
Oh.
Yeah, no. Um, um, yeah. Oh no, I had something I was gonna say. Give it a second.
No.
Oh no. Fuck! No! I was thinking about. Yes! Yeah, exactly. Oh, I mentioned before to you. This is like this is one almost as this one is almost as baffling as the Suspiria remake.
Okay.
Like last year or this year, they remade Inside, the French movie about the pregnant woman, mother woman.
But that's American remake, right?
It's an American remake, yeah, of a French movie. But that one is just so baffling because I wouldn't call Inside a perfect movie, but it is a unique movie in how like violent and like nihilistically like disgusting it is.
Oh yeah.
And like trying to recapture that in an American movie, it just does not work. I watched it early this year, just out of curiosity, and it is fucking terrible.
Yeah. I mean, that movie is on my list of movies I don't want to see again.
Yeah,
Because it's horrible in a great way, but it's still horrible.
yeah,
And it's I mean, it's also, if you tone down the the gore, I don't know if that's the right word, really.
yeah.
Yeah,
Gore. Yeah,
yeah. If you turn down the gore, like even a smidge, that movie won't work. It
yeah.
needs that 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 gore and that tension and all that.
And
Uh,
guess what the remake does?
yeah, it obviously is gonna take down all that.
Yeah, and what's worse, what's absolutely terrible about it, is that they changed the ending. Spoilers, I suppose.
Mm.
I'm not going to say anything, but they changed the ending to a happy ending.
Oh my god.
It is infuriating, and then it's like, then I don't even understand. Like, sure, you want to make it like an American remake, so you can profit of it in America. Maybe it won't make you millions and millions of dollars,
Hmm.
but like a little bit at least. But then they have a complete lack of understanding of the movie.
Yeah.
It's not a happy story. It's a horrible story, and they just ruin it.
And that's like a weird. That's like an American movie industry problem. And I I don't want to like say that American. I don't think that American audience is dumb. I just think the American movie industry is really underestimating the audience in America, because
Yeah,
they're remaking all good movies. Well, not all, obviously, but a lot of good movies from other countries just to make them English and put on a happy ending at the end.
yeah. Like, oh, we don't want to read subtitles, so we'll just remake your movie
Yeah, and then they put
and
a
completely
good
fuck
end.
it up.
And then they put a good ending at the end, because otherwise people will not be happy.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I don't think that the American audience is that narrow-minded. I just don't.
I don't
Uh,
know.
I mean, just look at, for example, like Swedish movie Let Me In, or The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. It's
Yeah,
also like why? I saw Let Me In, and it's mostly the same movie. I don't think they put a happy ending at the end, but still, it's why?
yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
I
But I think I don't want to speak for every American. That's
Mhm.
horrible generalizing, and I don't like to do that. But like I know I often bring them up, but Red Letter Media in
Mhm.
their review show Half in the Bag, when they did their review of, this is not a remake, but just about Americans being dumb. When they reviewed Annihilation, they talked about that nope, that you saw Annihilation. We talked about that one.
we
When
talked
we-
about it, but I still haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it? Oh my
Still
god!
haven't seen it.
You have to see it.
I know
You have
it's
to see
on
it.
the list.
Okay, okay. But what they
Or
mentioned,
well, to be fair, just a sidetrack. You when we talked about it last, you
yeah.
said the same thing. You need to see it, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna put it on the list. After that, I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about it.
What? Well, that's probably from some dumb Americans.
Well, no,
No.
I heard both from reviews and from friends and coworkers. People that I know have a good taste in movies said, yeah, it was okay.
Hmm.
You can skip it. So then I put like parentheses on the list by that one.
Maybe later.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why I haven't seen it. I know it's on the list, but it's not high up at
Okay.
the moment.
But but in that review they talk about, because it was released in America, it was released in theaters.
Hmm.
Like it had a wide release.
Hmm.
And everywhere else in the world it was just released on Netflix. And Jay and Mike, the Red Letter Media guys, they couldn't understand why, because in America they don't care for like small, slow-paced, thoughtful movies. They and he says this. Mike says this about Americans. So that was a
Mm.
good example. Like they want movies like like Friday the 13th or Halloween. They want those kinds of horror movies.
Yeah,
and that's why no one went and saw it in America, and everywhere else where in Europe and he's made a reference before that Europeans are kind of snooty and like they prefer like those kinds of more intelligent movies. So maybe there's something to
yeah.
that, like the
Well,
dumb American stereotype. I don't know.
well, I mean, if that was the case, then
Yeah.
they wouldn't remake Let Me In and The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. If Because those movies didn't change tone, it was still the same tone as the original, just in English.
Yeah, but I
So
don't know about.
if that argument is they don't want to see slow movies, then why did they remake slow movies then? I mean, that doesn't make sense.
No.
I just think I think since America is a big country,
Mm.
especially compared to Sweden. So I mean, there's a lot of people, and I think of course there are people that don't want to see small movies and people who don't want to see action movies, obviously.
No.
But I don't. I think the studio is underestimating like the public that they won't see if there's subtitles.
Sure.
And
And yeah,
maybe I don't know how this works because maybe you have better grasp on the business side of Hollywood. But if a studio bought Let Me In,
mm-hmm.
or well, if Let Me In, the Swedish version when it came out in Sweden,
Yeah.
if someone wants to play it in America, does the studio get involved? Can a studio buy the rights to that movie to show it in theaters, or do they need to remake it to show it in theaters there?
No. They can buy distribution rights to it.
Okay.
I don't know how it works, if they can just give it a wide release or if it just plays festivals or anything like that. But I know that like foreign producers or foreign studios can buy a Swedish movie or buy the distribution rights for the movie.
Because that's maybe they actually make more money if they remake it and release it than if they buy distribution rights and show it.
Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe that's a business side to it. I don't know.
Yeah, and also the argument that Americans are so dumb. Like if you look at it like in pure percents, there's probably just as many stupid people in Sweden that there are in America. Yeah. But since there are 9 million Swedes in Sweden and there are over 300 million Americans in America, there are a lot more dummies there just by default.
Yeah, statistically.
So they have to pander to a very wide audience, and that's why they, instead of showing some little weird vampire movie from Sweden that maybe let's say 5 million Americans will go see, they remake it so it's slightly easier to digest and it has sort of a happy ending. So maybe 20 million stupid Americans go see it instead, including those 5 million smart people. That's kind of what they have to do because they have a much wider reach of people. Like that could be an argument for why they remake smart movies into dumb movies.
Another topic, if we're done with this topic.
Sure.
There's one kind of remake that we haven't touched on, which is a very interesting one, and which I think you have more inside than me because I don't like them. The samurai to western movies remakes. Was there a lot of them?
There are a few, yeah. I would probably say because most of them came in the like 60s and 70s, or I guess 50s and 60s. That is straight up cultural because Americans are not going to watch like stupid Japanese people running around with swords. I mean, they like 10 years or 20 years earlier they fought them in the World War, the Second World War. So it's like, we'll take this great premise, but we'll turn it into an American story. And then it's more blatant. Like Americans don't want to watch samurais; they want to watch cowboys. But a samurai and a cowboy is basically, back then exactly. A samurai and a cowboy is sort of the same thing, or I guess a ronin and a cowboy is sort of the same thing.
Yeah.
So that is just a cultural thing. I would say.
Yeah. And would you say that those remakes are justifiable by that? By the there is, yes, there is a pro. Now we're speaking like a long time ago, like 50 years ago or more.
Yeah, yeah,
So of course there was a lot of like racism and such involved in these remakes,
yeah,
obviously, and
yeah.
you can make a case for cultural appropriation and so forth, but still, in that time that it was, we can't really blame them for it because that was how the world looked back then.
Yes, yes, exactly. That's the kind of thing you have to acknowledge.
Yeah,
And you have to kind of gloss over that because otherwise we'd have to burn every piece of like movie or literature that was written like 10 years ago
yeah, of
and
course.
further back.
Yeah, I mean, it's there. It needs to be said that it wasn't right to make it by today's standard, but back then.
No, back then it was,
So
yeah.
yeah, but would you say, by if we exclude all those things, would you say that those are justifiable remakes? Are they acceptable remakes in your point of view?
Like my
Like, if
yeah,
is it is it uh, worth seeing a good remake of those kinds? Are
yeah.
there remakes that are better than the original?
That's tough because one of my favorite westerns is for a Fistful of Dollars,
Hmm.
and that is a remake of Yojimbo,
Yeah.
more or less like straight up. They've just
Hmm.
changed the setting.
Yeah.
Um, and I would say that like the idea was probably just like it is nowadays. Just they wanted to make some money off of an already existing idea.
Hmm.
Unfortunately for the studio, they got a very passionate director in Sergio Leone, and
Yeah.
he like, oh man, I love that Japanese movie. If I and it's like you said about the Suspiria movie, like, oh, I would get a chance to make my version of it. Oh, I would love to, and he made it sort of his own.
Hmm.
So I guess you could justify it that way, that he made his own version of it, even though it's just the same story, but in an American town in the Wild West instead of
Yeah.
a village in feudal Japan. So
And if the it, what do you say, the difference between the original and that one, you say the big difference that makes the remake worth it is the passion behind the director and so
yes,
forth,
for
and
him it
making
wasn't
it,
just
yeah,
a cash grab.
and if the same feelings existed in the Suspiria remake, would you say that the Suspiria remake is worth making?
Absolutely.
If
I'm
that
very
same passion and that same making it his own exists.
Yes, that I will definitely agree on. I'm just skeptical because it feels like, oh no, it's another remake.
Mm.
But I'll give it a shot. Definitely, I'm gonna watch
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
and if it's good, it's good.
Yeah.
But I mean the remake of Last House on the Left is not a good movie.
Oh
It's
no.
just, I mean, and that's the difference between a good remake and a bad remake.
Mm. But I mean, because you started this live stream with saying that you stay away from remakes generally.
Yeah, I know, but that's also the thing. I wanted to have this conversation to see if maybe I was wrong, and
Mm.
I've definitely changed my opinion a little bit because
Mm.
I wasn't even thinking about Fistful of Dollars, but
Mm.
it's technically a remake, so
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's one of the remakest remakes that ever remaked.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's an American Ronin.
Yeah,
Uh,
100%.
in an American
And
in an American town.
what's
So,
the
yeah.
other one? The 12 samurais, seven,
Seven Samurais.
seven
Yeah, they
samurais.
made. Yeah.
And that was,
Oh, it's
what was
called.
that called?
Oh, what the hell is it called? Det Sju vågade livet in Swedish.
Is it
Magnificent Seven.
the Magnificent Seven?
Magnificent
Right.
Seven. Yes.
That's also
Well,
like
well,
a super like almost shot for shot remake, almost, but they changed the setting.
almost. Yeah. But that one, I can say I do appreciate Kurosawa's version
Mm.
more. Definitely.
Yeah, that's because Kurosawa was will screw us up.
Remaster. Yeah, exactly. And the American remake is, I don't know. It's an American remake, so it's dumb. No, but there's definite difference between the Magnificent Seven and Fistful of Dollars, because A Fistful of Dollars is an Italian movie. It's done in a different kind of way than an American Western like Magnificent Seven. So there's also a difference there in how they made the movie, made the remake. But then I don't know if, just off the top of my head, I don't know any more like samurai to Western remakes. I know they remade Yojimbo again as a 1930s gangster movie with Bruce Willis. I've never seen it, but it's the same story, but it takes place in like New York in the 1930s, and he's a gangster.
Well, I don't either know like any like straight from my head, but I know there are a lot of them.
Yeah.
Especially those the real Western with John Wayne.
Yeah, the American Westerns. Yeah.
Yeah, not the Italian spaghetti Western.
Spaghetti Westerns. No, yeah.
No. Was Fistful of Dollar the first one in that genre?
It wasn't the first one, but it was the one that kind of made that genre, the spaghetti Western genre, famous. It was an early one, but it wasn't the first one.
Okay.
So, and that's kind of a thing with Italian cinema. They like to, if they see one movie that is successful, they wanna remake that success over and over again. Not like just remake the movie, but like all the Italian cannibal movies. All of those stem from, I don't remember which one the first one was, but like they made one cannibal movie that was successful, and then it was like, oh, okay, we're gonna make 10 more. Bring me 10 directors. We're gonna throw some money at them. They're gonna make 10 new cannibal movies, and then they made Cannibal Holocaust and Cannibal Ferox and all of those movies.
I mean,
and it was the same thing with the Western movies. Like, oh, one Western movie was successful. Let's make 20 more Italian Western movies.
I mean, the weirdest, I think, the sequel tree of movies ever is still the zombie franchise.
Yes, same thing there.
Have you checked out how that is, like how they're sequel to each other?
No, I'm not even gonna bother. I know that it kind of started with Dawn of the Dead, and it was like, and it was called Zombie, just Zombie in Italy. Yeah. It was like, this is a super big hit. We're gonna make our own sequel, and they made Zombie 2 and Zombie 3.
Yeah, but it splits off. I know. Like 4 times.
I know, but beyond those, I don't care because those movies are terrible.
I mean, I don't care either. I hate those movies, but I just think it's so weird because I saw like a diagram on how they are connected once. I can't find it now, but and that was like the first one is a sequel to Night of the Living Dead, and then that one has 2 sequels, and then like the second one has a sequel in another way. And then there's like a sequel to Dawn of the Dead 2 that's connected, and it's a whole weird thing.
I know. It's just that is a swamp. That is a clusterfuck, and I don't care about those. I watch a couple of them because they're good, like Zombie Flesh Eaters and Nights of Terror. Those are fun to watch, but other than that, I stay away from those movies. So yeah. Those aren't remakes, though. I was going to say, that ties into, but it isn't. It's just sequels.
No, it's just sequel.
But it's sort of in the same vein. Like they want to recapture the success, but they at least try to do their own story about it. So
I just pulled up IMDb's best remakes list. Just to see if we missed anything.
Best remakes, okay.
There's a lot of weird ones that the Italian Job, for example, like
that's a British movie from the beginning with Michael Caine amongst others. I haven't seen the original. I've only seen the remake.
Well, there's nothing really that we missed, nothing major. There's a lot of horror
No.
movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and such.
Oh yeah, but all of
We
those are terrible.
yeah, we touched on those. Cape
Yeah.
Fear is number 66.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
And also this one, I don't know, just because we need to talk about that one actually.
Hmm.
Even if I don't like it, I don't know if you like it. I don't remember. Scarface.
Ugh, yeah. Uh, I know the first time I saw Scarface, the '80s version, I
Mm.
did not like it. I couldn't stand Tony
Yeah,
Montana.
yeah.
I have come to appreciate it more and more as I
Hmm.
grow older, but I'm still kind of like, it's
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Um, but
Uh, I think, and the original is so good too. I really like the
the
original.
original is good, but it's so preachy. Like it's basically made to as a warning to people. Like,
Oh yeah, it's a propaganda movie
yeah,
for
you
sure.
better obey the law or we're gonna hang you. Which
Yeah.
is which is the original ending. I don't know if you've seen that. There is an alternate ending where they hang Tony Camonte, and
Oh no,
the
I've
judge
seen
looks right into the camera like, "That's what happens to criminals."
that.
It's like,
Well,
oh my god.
it's the tone of the movie.
Yes, definitely, definitely.
But I mean, I can appreciate even though it's a movie with a weird agenda, I can still appreciate it.
Sure,
Uh,
sure. I really like the original.
yeah. Scarface, the new well, the '80s version. I don't like it at all.
No.
Same reason as you, and it gave such a like, I've seen it a few times,
Hmm.
but it just gives me such a like a bad feeling. I just don't want to give it a chance again.
No, exactly. And it's one of those movies where I can't appreciate the craftsmanship because
Mm.
the character Scarface or Tony Montana is such a fucking asshole. I can't get
Um,
past that. I cheer when they shoot him. It's
yeah,
like, yes,
me too.
finally.
And it doesn't also it doesn't help that it's so revered too.
Yeah, for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah,
Because
it's
the
because
new one,
it's cool.
it's yeah. Scarface is cool, but no, he's a murdering psychopath.
Yeah, and that like gives a bad taste in my mouth. Like when you watch it, you can't really forget that people love it so much, and
Yeah.
then you scrutinize it more.
Yes, exactly. And even if the new one isn't as preachy as the original,
Hmm.
it's still a cautionary tale because in the end he gets his just desserts, so to
Yeah,
speak. So I don't see why people like uh, uh, deify Tony Montana. It's weird,
I I
and
saw
I can see why, but
oh, I saw another remake
oh
which we have actually talked about in a previous episode.
oh,
Insomnia.
that's true. That's true. Yeah.
And
Um,
is it Swedish or Norwegian
It's
movie?
I think it's like a
Original.
collaboration
Collaboration,
because
yeah.
Stellan Skarsgård is in it, but it takes
Yeah.
place in Norway.
All right.
Sort of like a New York cop going to
Mhm.
Alaska.
And if I remember correctly, you have seen the original, right?
I have seen it a long time ago on
Oh,
TV.
okay. I thought you saw it in before that episode.
No, I just rewatched the
Okay.
Nolan version.
Yeah. Because
So
I
yeah,
haven't seen the original, so I don't know, but I know the Nolan version is good. It's a good movie.
yes, and from what I can remember, since it's a Swedish like police procedural, it's basically like Beck,
Yeah.
and it's a boring police movie, and
Mhm.
they make something interesting of it in
Mm.
Insomnia. So that's a good example of a good remake where they
Mhm.
take a pretty good movie, but they make it better. They make it more
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Like
So
we
that's
can
that's a
improve
good
this.
example. Exactly, exactly. Um. So yeah, I gotta say, I don't know. I feel like we're nearing the end
Yeah.
here, and
Yeah.
I gotta say I've changed my mind on remakes a little bit. I
Okay.
would still argue that like modern horror remakes are 90% trash,
Yes.
but as we talked about it, there are actually a lot of remakes I do like. but basically none of them are horror remakes, except for or modern horror remakes.
Yeah.
Um,
It all depends on. I say not all. I will never say all remakes are bad.
no,
I'm a strong defender of remakes. I do say that just as in movies, there are a lot of bad ones and there are a lot of good ones.
yes, yes,
And it all depends on if there's any passion behind it.
exactly. And
That's
as we talked about, like the ones we call good remakes, they do justify their existence, and that's
yeah,
what I think is important about
yeah.
it.
And I say that you should hold a remake to the same standard as an original movie, and not less or more. They should be on an even playing field because all that matters is their passion and is it art behind it.
Yes, exactly, exactly. I would agree. And just yeah, to wrap it up, to go back to where we started, um, I am still skeptical when it comes to the Suspiria remake, but I will definitely give it a fair shot when it comes out.
Hmm. You can tell me how it goes, and I can ignore the movie.
Yeah, okay. Sure, sure, sure. Just one quick, like,
Mhm.
just what your opinion is. Um, it's still, I guess, in the pre-productions. It might not happen, but what is your opinion on the Big Trouble in Little China remake?
I haven't heard of that one.
Oh, okay, they're remaking it sort of like just beat for beat, the same movie, but in a modern way, and with Dwayne the Rock Johnson in Kurt Russell's role.
No, I say no.
Okay, I agree. I agree.
For the only reason that I'm not a big fan of that movie. I like it, but I'm not a big fan of it. I
Okay.
only seen it like twice ever, and I never get the feeling, oh, I want to watch that again. Never
Okay.
happened.
I
Uh,
love it.
I know, but the only thing that makes that movie work is that Kurt Russell is so bad at everything,
Yes.
and I can't buy that Dwayne the Rock Johnson will be bad at anything.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. He's one of those guys. He doesn't want to come off as a like a bumbling idiot in movies. He has to be the great guy. So
I,
yeah,
I, just, I just think that he is a perfect human being that can't do
sure.
wrong.
Yeah,
I
he's.
mean, I can't buy that he will do anything wrong.
No, no, and I think that's a terrible idea because in my mind, not objectively but subjectively, Big Trouble in Little China is a perfect movie. So it is just ridiculous to make a remake of that. Plus, it was a flop.
Yeah,
So what
but it's
you
a cultural hit, so
it's yeah, I guess, but they're not going to make any money off of that remake. So yeah, I just
well, I think they're gonna make a lot of money of that. Because imagine all the nerds that are ready to go there and be angry. I'm gonna see it and be angry
oh,
the whole
that's true.
time.
Do
'Cause
you think? Do you think they could make it? Then just before we end here, do you think if they make it, that they make it purely out of spite? Like we want you to hate it. Just come and watch it and hate it.
I
It's still money.
it wouldn't surprise me if because somebody somewhere needs as a must have like raised their hand and said, people are going to be super mad about this, like so many people,
Yeah,
and somebody has to have responded with, yeah, but they're going to see it, don't they? Won't they?
yeah. That's what.
I don't think that's why they made the movie, but I think it came up and they're ready for it.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Well,
I don't think they sat at a board meeting like with low lighting and said, "Yes, what movie can we make to make people hate us?" I don't think it went like that.
no, no, no. But they took that into consideration when
Yeah,
they
yeah,
thought
hundred
about.
percent,
Yeah,
100%. Because
sure, sure.
nerds are such like uh
They're passionate.
such yeah, they're so passionate and they're so willing to go and something so they can hate it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like normal people would go like, yeah, that looks bad. I won't see it. Like nerds, they're like, that looks bad. I'm gonna see it, so I know what to hate.
Yeah. That
So
I do that sometimes.
yeah,
I
so
agree.
I think it's gonna make a lot of money, and
Huh.
also because it is a cultural hit, so most people know of the movie.
Yeah.
At least know the name of the movie. So there's the recognition of it. Like, oh, I think I know about this one, even
All
if you
right.
haven't seen it.
All right.
So,
I guess that makes sense.
yeah,
Um. Yeah. I I don't know. It's for me. It's such a weird movie to remake, but I guess it makes sense what you're saying. But yeah. I'd say we're done.
yeah,
We went on. Yeah. A pretty good length here. About an hour and a
mhm,
half. That's
yeah,
perfect.
yes,
And I think at least me came to a conclusion. I came to a conclusion that it isn't all black and white. So that's good. That's what I want from these conversations. Conversations. I can't speak. But yeah, we're done. So next week though, once again, it's not going to be a regular episode. Because I am doing a collaboration with another YouTuber called Young Crypt TV. And we're going to talk about, I think I've mentioned this before, we're going to talk about Dawn of the Dead. It's sort of a continuation of my Planet of the Apes live stream I did a few months ago. Because, well, Planet of the Apes came out in 1968, so they celebrated 50 years this year. Dawn of the Dead came out in 1978, so they're celebrating 40 years this year. And throughout the rest of the year, I'm going to do this with a couple of months space. Talk about movies that came out in, well, the next one's going to be 88, and then 98, and then 2008. So if you're interested in watching a stream about Dawn of the Dead, we're gonna do that next week. It's actually gonna be on Saturday because it's easier to match with the time zones since he lives in America. So that's what's up next week. And after that, hopefully you'll be back, Christopher. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about then, but that's a long time, so we'll figure that out, like we always do. But yeah, I think that's it. Couple of new videos coming this week. I'm going to do like a 3-part series about Jurassic World and a Swedish movie called Den blomstertid nu kommer. I'm actually going to compare those two. It might sound weird, but it'll make sense once you have watched all 3 videos. But other than that, thanks for watching. Yeah, leave a like, all that stuff. Subscribe. Thank you to all my new subscribers. And yeah, I'll see you the next time. But until then, have a good one. Bye.
bye.